All right, hold on a second. There we go. Yeah, it wouldn't whatchamacallit wasn't logging in. OBS had 0 kilobytes uploading, so I couldn't. I kept trying to log in, and it wasn't. It kept booting me off. So. Sorry about that. So let's see, what did I miss? Sam's excited. Gutter dog, what's going on? Yeah, I know, it's crazy. And I did the speed test, and I had 100 megabytes uploading or downloading, but 0 megabytes uploading, or whatever the kilobytes or whatever it is, the megabytes, kilobytes. I'm not sure, but I mean the download speed was killer, but my upload speed was literally, it didn't even register. It was 0. Thanks, Bruce. Joseph, what's going on? Brian Harkins, how's it going? Good to see you. Hook, I see you're in there. Bob, yeah, I know. I do love technology. I mean, it's certainly allowed me to do more of what I do, and that I like. Yeah, this lesson thing you can see. This is down in the valley or down to the river to pray. It's funny. Yesterday, or YouTube gave me a copyright strike because I played that song. It's funny because I own the master on that. I have 50% of that song with Sadie Van, and so I guess the movie studio that put it in the movie did one of those international copyright kind of things or something, which is fine. It just said I could take it out, but I'm not going to. I'm going to leave it in. It's not a copyright strike. It's just I have to share the royalties on that video. And since literally I make maybe $1 for doing these videos, maybe $2. If it gets to 1,000 views, I maybe make $1.50 or $2, something like that. So I'm not making any money doing this. At least not here. I'm making it super chats and the other things I have on YouTube generate revenue, which I should probably be doing more of and less of this. That's the lesson. So, and that may be coming up. My days on live stream may be numbered, so I mean I would still probably do it once a week, but as far as doing it 3 times a week. So what I thought we'd do today is go through the song and just kind of go phrase by phrase. The phrasing. We also, the other thing, we can look at all the notes on the downbeats of each of the chord changes. Every one of them is a chord tone. We have a D over the G, which is a 5th, an A over the D, which is a 5th, a G over the C, which is a 5th. Again, D over G, which is a 5th, A. So a lot of 5ths. We don't get anything other than a 5th on the downbeat of a new chord change until we get to bar 11, where we have an E, which is the 3rd of the C chord. And that's where it has that really nice kind of Lydian vibe. And then back to 5ths. Yeah, so it ends on a root there. D, when it goes to D chord, there's a root note. Yeah, Discord is a little bit weird, Waterman. It's a little hard to get used to. The layout is just, and the other thing, so I finally copy and pasted the link, which, oh, by the way, did I not pin? Sorry, let me pin the Discord link, speaking of. I think that's it. I'll pin that so it's up there. But yeah, it's not exactly the, it says, weird. It's not showing up where I pinned it. Oh, there it is. Okay, finally showed up. All right. So, and then if you have any questions, thanks, Holly. If we have any questions, feel free to ask them, especially if they're about guitar. Let's stick to guitar if we can. I got that banjo. True to my video on 7 tips for older beginners, I have my banjo out there to remind me to play it. I'm hung it up on the wall there. The 5-string bass was starting to pull the hanger off the wall, so I had to take it off. And so it's on a guitar stand over here. I use that thing almost every day. So. Hey, Alan Floyd, good to see you. Aslan, how you doing? John Y. in Louisville, good to see you. So Waterman, why do you practice 8 hours a day? Or how do you afford to do that? Thank you, David Sellers. Michael, you're not late. We got a late start today. I didn't get in until 10 minutes ago. So we haven't even started yet. In fact, I'm going to probably run out of coffee before we finish, just because I was drinking coffee trying to solve tech issues. Okay, so again, one of the cool things about doing this song, and I noticed it on a couple others as I was doing some research about what song to do next. I noticed that a lot of times, especially when even in G, bluegrass players will kind of move their hand into second position. So, here we taught all these scales. G minor pentatonic, G major pentatonic. All those kind of things. We did all in open position or first position, but I call it open position but your first finger is assigned to the first fret. Well, there's really only in the key of G, there's only that C note that's actually played on the first fret. So we could move our whole hand up here, and that way this F sharp we can get with the third finger. We can get the B instead of open, we can get it with the third finger. And we can get that D note with our second. And we have a little bit more range. We can get up that A note up there. The only thing is C is going to be a pinky note. But I noticed that a lot of players would move their hand up here. And then maybe over a C chord, they might move their hand down into first position again, okay? But this entire song can be played in second position, meaning your second finger is going to get the second, or first finger is going to get the second fret, second finger is going to get the third finger is going to get the fourth, and fourth finger is going to get the fifth fret. And so when we play, oh, thank you, John. We get that thing going. We'll find that it's all right here. We don't even have the F sharp, but we're going to play the B with our third finger, which is nice because we can put a little. B is a very strong note in the key of G. Okay, and it's even being played over the D chord. I don't see it over the C chord, but it's over the D chord. Or we're going up to that. Yeah, I hit 90,000 subs. That's pretty cool, huh? Can you put the capo at the second fret for this? No, because you need the open strings. So when you play second position, we're still using open strings. Okay. Once we get further up here, it's very difficult to use open strings as you go further up the neck, but we still can do it. Now I'll use open strings even when I'm playing up in this, even in that range. But no, we now several bluegrass songs, including Bill Cheatham. A lot of them are played in A and capoed at the second fret. Okay, I got my G7th here, capoed at the second fret. However, they're still using open strings at that point. So, and then they're playing technically would be fourth position, if that makes sense. But you're really, if you're capoed, I don't think of that. If I'm playing at the fourth fret, it's second position. I'm not thinking fourth position. I'm thinking when I capo, I think that's where the nut is now. We're moving the nut up. Okay. So I'm in that kind of context. Okay. So in G, so what we're going to start with is a down, up, down, down, down. If you get that first, I think it's important just to play it like that so you get used to playing downstrokes on the downbeats. Oh, I forget. Did Waterman answer his question? John, what was your question? Shoot, hold on. Yeah, the Pro Sona's $99 isn't bad at all. Yeah, open strings are definitely your friend. Let's see. Yeah, let's see. What? Yeah, and Dennis is kind of the admin for the Discord. So if you have any questions about Discord, you can ask him over there. Let's see. Yes, and it was Lydian, but I'm not really thinking Lydian. It just happens to be when you play the F sharp over the C chord, you're kind of doing a Lydian vibe. It kind of sounds very Lydian, which is cool. Michael Mason. Oh yeah, I told you weren't late. Let's see. Oh, do you have any videos on how to set up a practice session? Would you be able to make one in the future? Okay, so John, clarify that. What do you mean by practice session? Like a recording session or a practice rehearsal session with other musicians, or just how to practice? Because that's a difficult thing. I'm not. I would have opinions about me, but I think everybody learns different ways. I would have to do some studying on it. I would have to read up on it, or at least watch a lot of videos about how different people practice, and maybe approach it from that point of view. It's kind of, we homeschool, so that was one of the great advantages of homeschooling is, people learn basically 5 or 6 or 7 different ways. There's different types of learning, and Alex is a very hands-on, tactile. I've got to learn this. Jack is great at sitting down and figuring out problems and deciphering and decoding, and he's fine with watching a YouTube video on Khan Academy was great for learning a lot of. Oh, thank you, Sam. Khan Academy was great for learning a lot of like science, physics things that Beth couldn't really teach him. So, and keep in mind, Jack is an engineer, got his PhD or has got his master's at USC, and works at Northrop Grumman. So we did something right. Alex is a musician like me, so we did something wrong there. No, Alex is awesome. And then Emma's a school teacher, and she learned different too. So everybody, all the kids learn differently, and I feel like guitar players, we all learn differently. Some of us just kind of have to get in there and experiment, and that's kind of me. I took lessons from the age of 9 until I was about 18. Well, I started teaching at the store I was taking lessons at when I was 17. So I must have stopped taking lessons right around that. I can't remember. I know I wasn't taking lessons and teaching lessons concurrently at the same studio. Once they hired me as a teacher, I wasn't going to be taking lessons. But I did study classical guitar at college, so I took 2 years of private classical guitar instruction, which was great. It was great because my teacher didn't hesitate to slap my hand when I was doing my technique was wrong. You know, it's like almost like the nun with the ruler or something. But it really did correct some bad habits. But it was helpful to have a second party involved in my learning process. But still, to this day, I can teach myself anything. I just love to do the research and do the practice. And you know, if I was retired and didn't play guitar anymore, I would probably, for a living, I would probably still be playing guitar every day. I'd probably be working on my bluegrass, or I'd be working on flamenco, or I'd be working on Greek bouzouki, or I got a new toy that I'll show you at the end of the lesson. Also, I think so that's a long answer. AJ, thank you. Everybody's chipping in this today. I appreciate it. Everybody's afraid I'm going to stop doing live streams. I wasn't trying to manipulate you guys, but it definitely helps because I really do feel like in my head, I don't have a calendar because I just work. I don't have a calendar where I've got, okay, I'm going to be here from here to here and here like that, or meetings or any of that kind of stuff. It's just whatever happens in a day. But in my head, I have this, like, okay, I'm spending 6 hours, actually more than that because I do prep work for you guys. So probably 9 hours a week doing the live stream. And I'm not exactly sure if the live stream has anything to do with the success of my channel as a whole, because I've got a few videos that are doing well. Of course, the one video is what most of you know me from, is the 7 tips for older beginners. And that still probably generates about 50% of my YouTube revenue, right? So I've tried to recreate that. You know, I've done more tips for older beginners, and I've done 7 tips for beginner slide players, and 7 tips to help you change chords faster, and all that stuff. That darn F chord is done well, and the darn F chord one is done well, and my open G tunings, the open D tuning, and DADGAD tuning videos all do well, which tells me I should do more of those. Guitar Dog, what's going on? It's shakedown straight, exactly. I was shaking you guys down. But the problem is when I think in my head I spent 9 hours or 10 hours this week on YouTube. None of that was creating content that's really going to generate a lot of views. Now, if I go to my stupid content page here and look at my last, few videos or so, the Greek bouzouki one got 500 views so far. But people will find it, search for it, things like that. The octave exercise has 1,000 views, which is a great exercise. In fact, I'll post it right here. If you haven't seen this one, it's a great warm-up, and it helps with finger independence, but helps warm up. I really feel like that. 7 tips for bass playing guitar players has 500 views. I mean, now the unboxing of the Jim Dandy got, I don't know if it's because the word unboxing is in there, it got 3,300 views. Unboxing videos are very, very popular. I know that. And that's kind of why I did it. I was going to do an unboxing video I started to film it for the new thing that I got. But I forget, something happened, and I just didn't feel like it was going to be a very good video. So the warm-ups, from 900 and 1,000, nothing, my studio signal path. I think that's a really, really important lesson for anyone interested in playing guitar for studio work. But again, that's a very small group of people. It's only got 400 views. Capo Anomalies, 600 views. Harmony with Capos has 1,500 views. But that harmonizing with capos video here, I'll show you. That one should have 20,000. That should have 100,000 views. And to be true, if I look at the analytics of 7 tips for older beginners, for a month it did nothing, and then it just exploded. So you never know. But I'm still trying to catch lightning in the bottle. You know what I mean? And I would love to have 50 videos that had 3 million views, because it would be. I don't think I don't think that's up to 3 million, but it's getting there. It's getting really close. If I sort by views, my most, let's see. Oh, well, it's 2.77, so almost 3 million. And then second is five songs with only 2 chords. 562,000, which is great. Okay, don't get me wrong, that's huge. But I did a second follow-up video to that, and I think it's got like 16,000 views. I'm like, I don't understand, you know, how that one took off and the other one didn't. You know what I mean? Play most any song in Dadgad, almost 500,000 views. That one actually gets a lot of that one. A lot of people come to know me through that one too. It's just weird. So, well, John, and I think it's important to see how you learn. You know, where have, and personally, one of the best things I think for thanks for the super chat, guys. Thank you to Sam and John. The best way to, I'm telling you, the best way to learn fast, get better fast, is to play with others or take a gig that you're not prepared for. Oh my gosh, the human. I mean, you've got to. I think most of my religious views, political views, musical views, whatever views on anything are almost all formed on human tendencies and human nature and, you know, and humanness. And I'm not saying I'm a humanist, but human, and not not that, but humans have a huge fear of making a fool of themselves, right? How many of us had nightmares where we walked to school naked, you know, or you got up to give a speech and you weren't wearing pants or something? I mean, it's like, those are deep down fears. And so you can use those to your advantage. And I've done it my entire career. I've taken gigs. I've joined bands that I wasn't, that like the musicians were all better than me. I've done sight reading big band gigs where like, man, the reading level was up here, my reading level's here. And I would go to the thing and I would mess up 1,000 times. On Wednesday night for an hour and a half, 2 hours, I'd be just like constant, dang it, and just constant mess up. And then the rest of the week, from Wednesday to Wednesday, I'd be having all the books out, let's see, what was some of the, like one of these. Like I'd pick up like all sorts of stuff like this that I wanted to get my reading down, So I got my reading better so that when I'd show up at the reading band, I would be fine. I could sight read pretty much anything, okay? So... yeah, YouTube is a mystery algorithm kind of thing. You're right. I also think sometimes videos get promoted on third-party websites, on blogs or on forums or things like that. Like Reddit made me famous for a minute, and before 7 Tips for Older Beginners. And Reddit took me from like 800 subscribers to 1,200 subscribers in one day. I mean, I'd spent a couple of years getting this 800, and in one day they added 50% to my numbers because somebody got up there and said, why isn't this guy more followed on, why doesn't he have more subscribers on YouTube? So it's interesting because I look at my dashboard here on YouTube, and not only did I hit 90,000, I'm already at 9089. So 90,089. So, I mean, I think it's going to get to 100,000, hopefully by the end of summer. So that would be great. Okay. So again, with this melody, again, what I want you to really try hard to do, and I haven't done a recording for this yet, but I'm going to do a jam track for it. I'm going to play it at 100, and I'll loop it for 10 minutes. And it'll just be like one guitar and bass, and I'll only post it privately, unlisted, not privately, but unlisted, so that you guys all of you can click on it and listen to it a billion times if you want. It will be monetized, so that you may see an ad, but I'm not going to post it on my general channel for now. you'll be able to use it. Just like the one we did for, what was it? A Wildwood Flower. Okay. But so at 100, this is quite slow. The jam track that I was playing with is 140. Now, and I'm messing up. So one of the things that I said I wanted to learn through all this was the ability to do the pure alternating picking that seems to dominate the right hand of bluegrass players. Okay, so we're not doing what's called economy picking. We're doing pure alternating picking. And so every downbeat, 1, 2, 3, 4, is going to be a downstroke, and every upstroke, whether it's stranded by itself or whether it's connected to the downbeat, is going to be an upstroke. Okay, so we have this very first phrase. We have down, up, down, down, down. See that D, E, G, or 0, 2, 0, those are all quarter notes, so they're all going to be downstrokes. Thanks, Becker. Becker, I think I subscribed to your channel. Okay, and then the last two notes of the first bar are the same as the pickup. Okay, and then the next three notes of the next bar are eighth note versions of the first three notes of the first bar. And so it's going down, 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 down. Okay, and notice that I'm playing that B note on the fourth fret of the third string, not open. Okay, and the nice thing, you've got a beat and a half there, so you can. The great thing about that is you can put some vibrato on that B note. And you should end that with an upstroke. So I would consider that the first phrase. If you were a singer, you would take a breath at that point. Generally, that's how I define phrases, okay? It's where the singer's going to take a breath. Now, the next phrase may go from bar 3 all the way to bar 8. So guitar is no problem, we don't take a breath, but a singer might have a problem. That's a lot to sing on one breath, especially since, as Bruce noted, that generally when people do this song, it is about 100 beats per minute. But when you play it instrumentally, they always speed it up, and I hear it about 150 to 200. So if you were singing at 100, that would be a long phrase to go without a breath. You could probably do a breath. You could probably do a breath on that D note. But for our purposes, the first phrase is going to be to the end of bar 2. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3. Okay, and that's all first finger and third finger at the end. Okay, go 1, 2, 3. Down, 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 up, down, up, down, up, down, up. And if you want, you can put a little vibrato on that last note. Okay. Ah, shoot. Okay, and when you're doing all those downstrokes in a row, you're technically doing upstrokes as well, because your hand has to come back up to make the next downstroke. Hey, Joseph, good to see you. Art, too, I didn't say hi to you. Sorry about that. Aslan, I said hi to you. Just want to make sure anyone that jumps on the chat, I give a shout out if I can. Beato couldn't do that, or he'd just be doing shout outs the whole video. His video would just be shout outs. Get a shout out from Rick. That would be the video. Okay, next phrase. We we could go that far. Let's do that. It's nice. It's like, it's a nice little phrase. And hey, Alan, good to see you. I played violin and then viola in the community orchestra, and you have to analyze the music for down and up bows. That's right. Exactly right, Alan. Yeah, I always want, and that is, I'm assuming there's markings, because generally when you watch an orchestra, everybody's arms are moving together, which tells me they know, they all study the same way and know when to change the bow direction. And let me ask you something, Alan. Does the bow sound different going up and versus down? Because the pick does. An upstroke definitely to me sounds, especially on a strum. Becker will testify this. You know, like a ska thing, you can totally hear the upstrokes. I mean, it's the exact same rhythm. It's just displaced by an eighth note. But you can tell the difference between a downstroke and an upstroke. So sometimes you can. Okay. This phrase. Yeah. So we got right on beat bar 3. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. 3, 4 again. 3, 4. It's always important to get a thing down, a lick, a phrase, a riff, whatever, a melody down slow, and then start to speed it up. Don't try to go at tempo right away. You're just gonna, you're gonna build in bad habits. Any mistakes you make are just gonna stay there. They're not gonna go away. You have to slow it down and do it exactly how you want to do it. Okay, and so that's. So down, for me, where I'm trying to break some bad habits is I'm trying to do the pure alternating thing and not do, okay? I'm trying not to do economy picking in this context of bluegrass. Now, not only will this apply to bluegrass, okay? And there was another style of music that I thought when you said, hey, when I was running out of ideas, when I was running out of ideas about what to teach, you said, what do you want to learn? And bluegrass kind of was the first thing that came to mind. But second and third were like flamenco, and I want to work on my flamenco playing, and I want to work on my gypsy jazz. I already play both of those, but not very well. I can play a gypsy jazz player on TV or in a movie. Same thing with flamenco and bluegrass, but I wouldn't do a recording, an album with any of those three styles necessarily. Although I probably will have some gypsy jazz on if I ever do a record. I've got some gypsy songs that I've written that are just fun, and that's kind of my heritage. Actually, my family, my grandfather's father was Bohemian. So there's something about the gypsy jazz music that resonates in my soul, in my being. Sorry. Okay. So we again that phrase at bar 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, down, down, up, down, 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 up, down, up, down. Okay. Then we have this little phrase. Let's just get this. It does that twice. Yes, twice in the song that I can see. Oh, wait. Yeah, twice. Bar over the C chord, which let's analyze this, okay? I'm big on analyzing, and I one of the best compliments I ever got on a YouTube channel was, they say, I love that you don't teach how to play guitar, you teach how to play music. And it's like, that's exactly right. Everything I teach, every time I teach, I really am trying to get you to go, oh, I understand this bigger thing, not just this little microcosm of a guitar lick, okay? But let's look at the notes that are being played just over that C chord, right on beat 3 and 4 of bar 4, okay? Top of the page at the very far right. We got a G, we have a D, and we have an E, and then a G again, okay? And if you think about it, yes, Steve Morse is an alt picking master. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, he's amazing. Although he will sweep too. I've seen him sweep. And I think, I mean, you know, in gypsy jazz music, I think I would do some sweeping. Although I don't know, I have to study it better. But yeah, the sweeping thing is just kind of like, reminds me of the 80s. Hey, Manaj, what's going on? Or I don't know how you say your name, but London, what's going on? Oh, interesting. Oh, interesting. That's good to know, Becker. But yeah, I like Roxanne is all downstrokes. He's playing on chord, but they're playing on a downbeat. But so this phrase, G, D, E, G, and we can, if you want to, you can go to the next bar and hit that next note just to get the whole phrase. Down, down, up, down, up, down. It's the down, up, the picking thing is interesting because you're playing. If we don't even use it, we're doing kind of an inside movement where we're playing the G string and going to the D string, and then we're playing the D string and going to the G string. So we're playing the G string down and the D string up, and then we're playing the D string down and the G string up. So it's kind of an interesting. Also, you could just do the last 3 notes, right? You can totally hear that kind of lick. You've heard that 1,000 times in your life. But if you play that lick with the alternating picking, the great thing is that because it's a 3-note phrase, it forces your picking to go down, up, down, up, down, but the accents are on a different. So every time you start, you know, every other time you start the phrase, it starts with a different stroke, either downstroke and then an upstroke, and then downstroke and upstroke. Okay. But that little thing, that little music thing is playing the G, which is the 5th, the 2nd, which is D, the 3rd, which is in the chord, and then back to the G. Right? Something you've heard a million times. It's like this. Right? That kind of hammer-on thing. That on piano, you do it, you sound like Floyd Kramer. I love doing, this is a little lick I do in country music, where I'm actually hammering on that D to the E. Okay, so that's kind of what's happening there. I just wanted to point that out. Okay, so if we take that phrase. Oh, you know what? And I should be using my first finger for all of that. All right. Let's go to there if we can. All right. So I'm going to count very slow. 1, 2. Open B. I would use open B there. Get that open B string in there every now and then. So 3. Let's see. 1, 2. Down, 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 up, down, 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 down. we'll get that one next, okay? Again, we're on bar 4, and we're going to go all the way to the beginning of bar 7. 1, 2, down, up, sorry, down, up. So do it again. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops, 4 and 1, 2. I'm trying to do too many things at once. We're going to end on that A note. Okay. Let's see. So down, okay. So let's start the next phrase on bar 7. Let's start on that A note. We're hitting downstroke, and then so it's 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1. I'll play it fast so you can hear the kind of more musical context. 3, 4. Okay. And so the pattern, the right hand pattern is going to be down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down. You're going to end on a down there, okay? You just want to do that pattern on the G string for now. Down, da, 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 D, 4, down, da, 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 da. And that's another way you can separate the left hand from the right hand. Practice the right hand pattern or the rhythm, and on the left hand you can practice the notes. I mean, you could technically, I guess, practice without plucking, but sometimes it's advantageous to separate the two parts and get the right hand down and then bring the left hand in and play it that way. You do that a lot in classical music. Okay, so again, this whole, I mean, we're just using the index and the ring finger so far. That's all we've used. We're coming up. We're going to use our second finger finally in the next phrase or two. Coming up in the next couple phrases. Let's see. So when you play some notes, do you leave some ring a bit longer? Yeah, that's kind of up to the player. Everybody can do it differently. Sometimes if the note is an open string, you can let it ring while you're playing other notes sometimes too. That always sounds really good. I mean, right now I have no thumbnail. Let me see. Use a thumb pick. If I drop this, you get to take 2 sips, but there's a lot of ringy notes there. See that? So yeah, it's kind of up to the, but when you're playing a fingered note, then you may have to cut it short because you got to set up to do the next thing. So it just kind of depends. If you do stuff too staccato, almost a different style of music in some ways, if you're going to use very staccato things. Now, when I'm trying to create humorous music for television, I often use staccato, pizzicato strings, which are, and pizzicato strings where they're plucking the strings. Staccato is actually a bowed sound, right? I forget our violin player that was here, but Alan, I think. But the staccato is a short bowed thing, and I'm assuming that you either stop the note from ringing with the bow or with lifting the finger off, or both, which is what I would do like that. I'm lifting my hand off. If I left my hand on, it would just keep ringing. But I could also do this, where I lift my hand off and mute with my right hand. Okay? Anyway, but pizzicato is with string players is actually a plucked sound. Okay, so we got to that phrase. Let's see. Okay, then we have this. Let's get that down. Okay, open D, second finger on, or first finger on the second fret of the D string, open G, and an open D again, and then we're going to go right to D. So we actually have the cool thing right there is we have a fifth interval. That's a nice interval, right? Okay, so let's do this 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2 again. It's gonna be down, up, down, up, down. 4, 1, 2, down, up, down, up. Oops, sorry. Down, up, down, up, down. There we go. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Okay, so we have down, up, and then down, up. And that down, up on beat 4 is the G string, the D string. So you kind of do this down, up inside the strings, as opposed to on the outside of the strings. And then down, there. Okay, that's a downbeat. Okay, let's start on bar 9. That phrase is maybe get there. Stop on the E note. Okay, check this out. There's our second finger for the first time. Now, the cool thing about this lick, that has a very cool, kind of almost like you're using the G string to connect 2 notes together. Just using the G string. It's not quite. It's a melodic device. It's not a trick. You want the melody to go right. Sometimes I'll do things like where I'm just using the G string as a way to go and make it sound faster. Okay. It just sounds flashier. I'm not trying to get that G in the melody of the song. It's not part of the melody. It's just this is the melody. Usually do it on a telly or something like that. But the idea is that I'm using that G string to kind of get from one note to another. And it's kind of happening here, but it's really, like I said, this is more of a melodic. But I like that, okay, because if I played that with an open B string, see, I could have used open B on that. I wish my pointer worked up for you. If I pointed at something, I wish you could see that. That would be cool. I'm sure that's got to be an option. Can I add a window capture? No. Video capture text. Siphon client? No. Scene media source? No. Yeah, nothing. There's got to be a way to do that, probably. But anyway, so we're looking at bar 10 and that B note. The B note that we're playing with the 4th fret with our 3rd finger. You could play with an open B string and then hit the open G string and then do the A and then the open G. But that doesn't have the same as this. And this is all on one string. You could feasibly do it like really fast. Not that was not fast. That was just wrong. Yeah, it doesn't sound as good with the open B. It sounds better with that. Okay, and getting that meat of your finger, getting the finger on there, that note, that B note sounds great. The B string can be a little bit on the thin, nasally side. I know those guys. Some players that play will take there's whatever set of strings they put on their guitar, and they will put one like size up. Like if this is let's see, if this is a 13, if this would be a 17, they might put an 18 on the B string to give it a little bit more meat, because I do find that it's really easy to bend that B string out of tune because you can push it too hard, particularly on my baritone guitar. Very, very true there. But here we have the that we can do the B on that on the G string, and it's just, to me, sounds much better in this context anyway. So we have bar 9. Oh wait, no, we're oh wait. Okay, let's just start at bar 9. Down, up, down. We can just practice that, okay? Because it's a weird rhythm. It's a dotted quarter note to an eighth note to a quarter note. 2 and down. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. Down, up, down, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. Okay. Let's do the next 2 notes. Okay, we're gonna go that. So G, A, B. 1, 2. Try that. 2. Yeah, you can use palm muting. If I did here, it would sound. Again, not going to sound very bluegrassy. When I think of palm muting, a lot of times I think of Al Di Meola. I was just watching a video of him because I was watching some videos with Chick Corea because he passed away. I wanted to kind of remember Chick Corea a little bit, and I saw Return to Forever. I was amazed how often that Al Di Meola would go to that palm mute thing. It's kind of a way, it makes some things sound faster for some reason. I don't know why, but palm muted notes sometimes just sound like they're going faster, even when they're going the exact same speed. Okay, so we have down, up, down. Okay, that's the bar, basically bar 9 into the first beat of bar 10. Up, down, 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 down. Okay, now let's go from. So we got that. And that here's Minaj. Here's an example of a place where we could maybe leave those ringing, right? Because we're going to need this note again. So why go? I would probably let the B note ring out while I play the D note and then go back to the B note. I wouldn't you could let the D note ring out. It would sound like this. I don't know if you can hear the nuances here through the microphone on my iMac, but almost has a banjo quality to it because you've got this high note ringing out. And keep in mind, this D note is the highest note in this arrangement. And I think our lowest note is the D below that. So an octave. So the whole melody is within an octave range, which is very singable. In fact, it's right in my range. That's perfect for me. Oh no, it goes down to B. Sorry. Forgot about the B note. It only does that once though, right? Yep. Bar 5. Okay. So we go, and then we have that G, that kind of that little, using the G string to move around. Okay. Let's just stop on the E note here at the 2nd fret of the 4th string. Down, down, up, down, up, down, 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 Try to get that. Okay, let's go slow. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, 3, 4. Down, up, down, 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 up, down, up, down. Okay? Now, now the next phrase is that Lydian thing I was talking about. Now, You could play it like this if you wanted to, with the pinky playing the G note instead of the open G string. Part of me wants that F sharp and that G string to ring out against each other, but it's almost a little bit too dramatic. I think it's probably a better idea not to let that F sharp ring out. So, Menage. Oh, nice, Becker. Getting there, Becker. That's funny. You were going to say Aldi Miola. Yeah, it just always makes me think of Aldi Miola. The muting thing. Paco Pena? No, I don't. I think Paco Pena used his finger. He didn't mute so much. I think a light touch here is a good thing. So in other words, as soon as I play that F sharp and I go to the G, I take my hand off. In fact, that's a real common thing I've noticed in the left hand of bluegrass players. This is true of anyone that's good at anything, but they make it look easy, right? And it's just kind of having this. Okay. It comes from being comfortable. And if I'm concentrating too hard and I'm afraid to make a mistake, I might play a little heavier. And it's really that light feel that's going to make, you can't play fast if you're playing really heavy. If you're digging in, it's impossible to dig out. It takes longer to dig out if you dig in too deep. So the idea is to have a fairly light touch. So that's the phrase here, bar 11 and 12. Put your first finger. Friday night in San Francisco, yep. There was a Saturday night in San Francisco. They're getting ready to release that, by the way. I saw that on Aldi Miola's Instagram. Yeah, exactly. Billy Strings and Trey. Yeah, you're right. So that phrase is we start on the E note and we go to the F sharp and the G, and then hit the G again with the downstroke, and then we hit the F or the E, F sharp, G, F sharp, E, and then D. We land right on the D note, right on the D chord. Okay? Yeah, and remember, we talked about this quite a while ago. I think at the beginning of the bluegrass lessons, and you'll see people like shredding, whether it's in flamenco, banjo, bluegrass, even metal, hard rock guitar, gypsy jazz, and you'll see kids doing it, right? Like 12-year-olds or 10-year-olds, and you're like, oh, I'm quitting. That's it. I'm putting the guitar down. I'm never playing again, right? You see. And one of the things I noticed about, particularly the kids, but even adults, but I think adults are a little bit more self-aware in some ways. The kids are like, I see this bored look on their face. Okay, now, with adults, I think that it's less common. I could go on to 1,000 different tangents here, but with adults, adult players that are playing in front of an audience, I think a lot of times you're putting on a show, right? You're trying to make it seem like it's like the tightrope walker that starts to fall but doesn't. They're faking. They were never going to fall. They never lose their balance. They don't even have it in them to lose their balance. And when you got a rock guitar player going, like that, it's not difficult for him. No, he's putting on a show. Okay, but a kid isn't doing that. A kid is just playing. But one of the things I noticed is that they have this look like on their face, like they could care less. They're bored, right? And the question is, which came first, the ability or the continence? I think the continence plays to the ability. So in other words, if you kind of chill out, relax, and almost feel like you don't care, you're much more likely, just even with your face, with a continence of ambivalence in some ways, you're much less likely to overthink, and you're going to relax here in the core of your body, in your arms. And keep in mind, your hands and your arms come out of your core, and if your core is tense, your arms are going to be tense. And I can testify to this. When I'm doing something that's difficult, I tense up. And I can always tell in the studio when I'm doing it, because I clench my jaw and my ears change sounds. Like I lose all the bass in my in-ear monitors because I'm clenching my jaw, and my in-ear monitors then squeeze out a little bit, and all the bottom end goes away. It's like, oh, Tom, relax. You got to relax. Don't worry about it. You got this. And so it's kind of that thing. I think that's really, thanks, Manoj. Appreciate it. I'm trying to relax my face, and I didn't make any mistakes. So I was actually thinking more about my face than the music, and I was really just trying to go, don't care. That kind of continence. It's amazing. And obviously our continence can do a lot of things. I think a lot of people read a lot into our continence, like the resting bitch face thing. Women, and it's usually women. Guys can have it too. They don't usually call it that. I'm not sure. They probably call it game face. It's one of the ways that it sounds like you're discriminating against women, but it's just a term. But women do it almost more. I think they often will put that on there because they don't want to encourage a guy to come up and start talking to them, right? It's kind of a way to prevent being hit on. And so, you kind of get this. And then the game face is kind of something the guy does when he's like, wants to try to psych out the opponent. So they both the game face and the B face are both actually have something to do with someone else. But the relaxed continence or the completely ambivalent, don't care, bored continence thing is, I think, a way to actually kind of allow you to play a little bit faster, play better, and get into that zone. Does this make sense? Yeah, meditation. It is kind of like a meditation thing. Yeah, don't think about bills or problems. So practice that. Practice. I don't know if it's a resting B face. I don't think it's that. Resting B face usually, to me, just like your mouth's closed. You're like dead eyes. You're just like, don't talk to me. That's what you're putting off there. This is more just kind of relaxing everything, or kind of looking off in the distance in some ways, So, okay, the last phrase is very much like the third phrase. So I don't know that we even need to go over that, because we're already at 10:30, even though I started 20 minutes late because of technical difficulties. I told you that I would show you a new instrument. So we got a new instrument today. I am going to go here, and that way you can see it. Stoic. Yeah, stoic is a good word, Joseph. Poker face, that's another good term. Exactly. Yeah, Billie Eilish definitely kind of has that thing. Although she actually has mild Tourette's syndrome. My understanding is that people make a big deal about pointing out her facial tics, and I don't know if that actually made it worse. Sometimes if you, I have a friend who has Tourette's, and I just ignore it when I'm around. Obviously, you don't want to point it out. Oh, you just Well, I already unboxed it, Jeff. I already unboxed it. I was going to save it, but I got it on I got it on. I got it on Wednesday, right after we did our live stream. So I was supposed to get it Thursday, but it came a day earlier, so I was glad. Oh, so you ready? This is you've never seen one of these. Look at this thing. Look at that. Look at that. Heads. Look at that. It's like it's. I'm sure like a real one would have ivory, but that's just plastic. They didn't kill any elephants to make this. Probably all the white stuff on here would have been ivory or something. Look at the frets. So this is called a ruan. It's a Chinese instrument. Since we're on a Chinese New Year, year of the ox, is that right? I'm the year of the ox. Yeah, that's right. It's the year of the ox. And it's actually tuned very Western in some ways. It's G D G D. So a lot of the it has a very kind of has a very cowboy sound to it. It has a very Western. I gotta get the tremolo down. I probably need to relax my face. The strings are flat wound metal, top two, and then the bottom two flat wound, which is cool. Gives it a kind of nice steady sound. I got a copyright infringement up for Wednesday's video because I played the Sadie song, but it's a shared thing, and I'm not going to contest it, and so it's not technically a copyright strike. It's just a shared royalty thing. But yeah, it's called a ruan. Ruan. Yeah, did I not type it in here? R-U-A-N. Ruan. And it's basically kind of like a Chinese banjo. It's for the price, it's very well built, you know, but and very resonant. Yeah, it's just kind of fun. So anyway, I'm working on this whole next year. I'll be working on the new Star Wars game, and so I'm picking up a bunch of new instruments for that. Just in the last month, I've probably gotten 5 or 6 new instruments just to have lots of options. I think Sam, I think the bouzouki's going to come into play. I wish I'd gotten an electric one. I can always put a pickup in it. Oh yeah, the tuners are. At first, when I saw those these giant things, I thought it was going to be friction tuners, but then I realized, oh wait a minute, no, they're not coming out the back. They're actually going into a gear, so they're geared tuners, which is cool. is actually really nice. I mean, a good solid grip to grab the tuner. It's kind of cool. I don't think it's super practical. Cool. Other cool thing is that, it came with a gig bag, a little gig, hard one of those semi hard cases. But it'll make it easier to store in a closet rather than, so many of these things I have to hang up in my studio somewhere, or one of the rooms I have in my studio. Because I like to see what I have. And so this may end up hung out, but because a lot of times, like the little instruments, I forget that I even have them. When composers are saying, oh, hey, can you play something weird on this? I'm like, oh, I should have used charango. I forgot I had a charango. I do need to get a better charango than I have. So at some point I may do that. I may upgrade my charango. And then that's kind of becomes the big thing. I need to upgrade my mandolin too. I'm actually got a 12-string mandolin coming that Goldtone makes. I've got the 6-string mandolin, but I'm going to get the 12-string because it has a pickup in it. I think that'll come into. There'll be some really cool sounds I can do with that. So, put a slide on it. Yeah. In fact, Bruce, it's kind of like if it were 3 strings, it would be like a cigar box guitar. In fact, the wood feels like a cigar box. It's kind of a light thing, but a slide on it, yeah, it would totally work. Although it's a little. So, yes, I'll tell you the story. So when Alex was still in high school, we had family friends at church, and their daughter Savannah had a band, and the band featured actually had the drummer that was playing with him was not quite my age, but he was a little bit older, even though the band was all teenagers. He was friends with the family also, and he was helping them out by playing the rehearsals. Very, very good drummer, professional drummer. Ronnie Minogue, and he passed away 2 years ago with cancer. It was really a bummer. But so I played with him at church for years, and then Alex got to play with him for years with what was the Savannah Van Band, which is a great name. And yeah, if you look up Savannah Van Band, Van, V-A-N, that's her last name. You can still find old videos of them on YouTube and stuff like that. They even did an episode of what was her name? Marie Osmond show. Let's see. If you enter Savannah Van Band, it'll probably be one of the first ones. Yeah. You could enter Marie Osmond too. But basically, they were pretty. But this is before they were doing any gigs or anything like that. They were kind of basically just practicing, maybe doing a couple parties or things like that, but not really making any money doing anything like that. And I thought my friend Kook, who was the one that produced Justin Bieber and introduced me to Bieber. He was also producing. I mean, he producing Rihanna. He still produces Rihanna. He's a vocal producer. He still does Rihanna. He did Beyonce and Mariah Carey and like I said, Justin Bieber and lots of Fifth Harmony. He produced a lot of major artists. And it's funny because I said, you need to check out. I called Kook. I said, you need to hear Alex and Savannah. They should come out and you got to check them out. I think you'd get a kick out of them, because Kook had known Alex since Alex was like 7. I mean, Kook and I have been friends since the 90s, and Alex we would do these concerts like youth worship things, and Alex sometimes would show up with his acoustic guitar and bang on when he was 7 years old. And Kuka was like, "Oh, bring Alex. It'll be fun to have him up there on stage because they'll have kids singing and stuff like that. So it's always a lot of fun." And so, oh yeah, yeah, Lena's not on. That's funny. And so so I talked to Kook, and he said, "Yeah, come out to the Boom Boom Room in Burbank at like 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, or something like that." So I go out there, me and Alex and Savannah's mom. We all go out to the Boom Boom Room, which is a studio that was owned by Will Smith and Jazzy Jeff, and it was one that they had from back in the day when they were doing. It's actually a pretty nice studio. It's been sold since then, I'm sure. It's called something else now. But Kook had just recorded Mariah Carey that morning, and Beyonce was showing up later that day. I mean, that was the kind of thing that was going on. So like, Savannah's like, "This is cool." She'd never met Kook before, and of course Alex knew Kook, like, and the band didn't show up. It was just the two of them. I just said, "Just come out and do like pick." So we, they came to the house first, and we picked out like 3 songs for them to do for Kook, and it was pretty amazing. We get there, go to the studio. We kind of in the lobby of the studio, and Kook's sitting there, and I'm sitting there, and Brenda's there, and Savannah kind of has that. She has that X factor. She's got a great look. She's got a really cool, unique voice, and she can write too. So she's really good at writing. So, and she and Alex are still writing songs together, and so they just started playing the first song. Of course, Alex is, I don't know, he's 16, 17 years old, something like that, maybe, and he's grooving on his Taylor guitar, getting a great sound, and doing his thing. And Kook looks at me like, "Oh yeah," and then Savannah opens her voice and starts singing, and Kook's like, "Damn," he's like, "Oh my goodness," and he was just smiling the whole time. The whole song he was just smiling. I'm like, "Okay, this is good." He's looking at me like, "Oh man, yeah." And then they do a second song, and he's like, "Oh, I like that song even better than the last one." And then they do the third song. He goes, "That's a single right there. That's a hit right there." He just was like, went gaga over them. In fact, he said, "Okay," that night he calls me, so excited, and he says, "Oh, can you bring him out to Hollywood tomorrow to meet with Glenn Ballard?" Glenn Ballard is the one, he got like a million, he's got a studio in Hollywood. He produced Alanis Morissette, the Jagged Little Pill record. He produced that, and pretty well known producer. Produced a lot of records, and so we all pile in the car and we head out to Hollywood and Kook, and we all meet up at Glenn Ballard's studio. And Glenn's studio is kind of this top of this building in Hollywood overlooking Sunset Boulevard or Hollywood Boulevard, and everything in it is white except his Grammy Awards. It's like the walls are white, the floor is white, the ceiling's white, the piano's white. He wears all white. It's like, this was really weird. The furniture was all white. Everything was white. And I'm like, "You don't have little kids or dogs, do you?" So Glenn comes out, and Alex and Savannah start playing the songs, same songs. Kook says, "Oh, play this one first," or whatever. And Glenn freaks out, and he's like, I want to freaking hear this. I want to be able to listen to this album on my way home back to Malibu when I drive home. And, so they were very excited. Now, excitement by power people in Hollywood never translate in the music business or in show business, doesn't ever translate necessarily into anything getting done, finished, or whatever. And so, they recorded some tracks. They did a bunch of stuff. They did some gigs. They got on some shows, but they never ever got to the point of releasing a single. Never happened. So, yeah, I'm still here, Becker. But it was still a fun ride, and we learned a lot. Everybody learned a lot in the process, and Ronnie and Alex became very good friends, and Alex and Savannah are still really, really good friends. and they, like I said, they still write together quite a bit. So there's still musical fruit coming out of that whole scene, but a lot of education too about what you want to do and what you don't want to do, and having other people control everything about what you do. That it can be a little bit frustrating as an artist to try to carve your own voice when other people are telling you, record people are telling you, you got to do this, you got to do that, and it's kind of like they have in their mind this thing they want to create, and they're gonna it's like that Brady Bunch episode where Greg Brady becomes a pop star for a minute because he was the same size as the suit they'd already bought. It was like it literally encapsulated so much of the music industry with that one 60s sitcom. It was amazing. But yeah, keep in mind it was a time of the Monkees and that kind of stuff where the Monkees had been a manufactured band. So it's a very common problem with the industry. It's very different today than even just 10 years ago when Alex and Savannah got signed. It's different today in that, the streaming services are generating revenue, and everybody's talking more about different platforms and branding and all that kind of stuff. So, there's the 360 deals now that envelop everything. Although Alex and Savannah did sign a 360 deal, which was funny because it was like, but if I teach a guitar lesson, do I have to give you 20% or whatever? And it's like, no, you don't do that. But technically, contractually, anything you do in related to music technically is owned by the record company. So it's like, so if I work on someone else's record and they pay me, I got to pay you money. Well, no, not technically, no, but I mean, they never come after you for that. But yeah, do your homework definitely when it comes to record contracts. Some cottage cheese off a scene. Who's doing? Oh, interesting. Well, if I'm going to die of cancer from nickel, that's how I'm going to die. It would make sense that guitar killed me. I heard Joseph. Is this true? I mean, I don't know if you've done it, but obviously you would have to wear masks and suits and things like that. The full like plastic mask when you're going to take cottage cheese down. Our apartment building had it, but we had tenants that actually put 1/4 inch ply, 1/4 inch, was it 1/4 inch drywall up on top of it. And the weird thing was, I thought, well, you're just going to make the apartment feel smaller because you're technically adding 1/4 inch to the ceiling, which isn't really that much. But it actually made the apartment seem bigger, which was weird. I can't remember what it looked like in relation to the crown molding, if it was the 1/4 inch was too far down or whatever. I can't remember. But I've heard that they just spray cottage cheese with water and it gets heavy and falls. Is that right? That's generally how you can scrape it, but I think you have to get it wet and it comes down in big clumps if you get it wet. But yeah, a lot of cottage cheese ceilings have asbestos. The things we talk about. Yeah, Becker, I think Eddie Van Halen claimed that he got his throat cancer, lung cancer from his chewing on metal picks or aluminum picks or whatever. Take a sip. Yeah, dang it. Out of coffee. I may have to get a refill. I gotta get some work done. But he also was a chain smoker, so I don't think it had anything to do with a metal pick. It was definitely the chain smoking that gave him cancer. My dad died of throat and salivary gland cancer. He smoked for 50 years or longer, and he quit smoking, but way too late. And he quit probably 5 years before he died. And so cottage cheese with sparkles. That's even, yeah. Now, I don't know if the sparkles, what was the point of that? But the building that we managed for 25 years was built in the 50s, 56, and they didn't have the sprinkles or the sparkles in the cottage cheese. Karma, what's going on? Yeah, I would think spray. I don't know if it's water that they spray it with, but the professionals, I've seen them do it with like either water or some kind of liquid they spray on it, and then it comes off in bigger clumps. I think if you scrape it, you're definitely going to aerate it. Yeah, yeah. Eddie was always smoking. Yeah, that's the other thing you need, like that. Oh, you need a abatement team, or again, you'll need some kind of like. It depends. If it's your house, I don't know if the city can say, "Are we going to come in and inspect?" If it's an apartment building, for sure. Um, but I never. The city inspectors never even. I mean, we had to get quadrennial inspections. They had to go into every apartment every 4 years. It was a big pain. Tenants hate. Some of the tenants hated that, but it was like, yeah, it's the law, so we had to let them in, and they would go around. A lot of times they would notice kind of it was weird. Like building inspectors, they different inspectors had different things they were looking for. Like one of them totally ignored some things that I would have gone. You see the hole in the wall? Totally ignore a hole in the wall, but then notice that the bathroom faucet was dripping. So that was that was a you have to fix this within 3 days kind of thing. It's like so we would always have uh, at the end there when we were last 3 or 4 of these we did we always had our fix it guy follow them around and he would make a list at the same time so that he would have a list before because their list wouldn't come for a month. They would do their list and then they'd mail it to us and we'd get it a month later. It's like, well, how do we know what to fix if you haven't told us what to fix? So you have 3 days to fix this, but we're not going to tell you what to fix until 33 days. So it's like, well, that don't make any sense. But that's just typical city politics. Um, one out if one person dies. Yeah. So yeah, I'm probably going to die of cancer though, Alan. I don't think there's anything I can do. Everyone in my family's died of cancer, so I'm the only one in my family that hasn't had it. So I probably have it coursing through me now. In fact, probably the sweet and low, the aspartame that I put in my coffee is probably what's keeping the cancer at bay. If I stop taking sweet and low in my coffee, I'll probably get cancer. That's what I tell people. Because some lady came up to me when I was tearing open a pink packet at Starbucks. She goes, "That's going to give you cancer," and I said, "I'm counting on it." And she was like, "Well, I never." And I'm like, "Well, then you oughta sometime." um, See you later, guitar dog. Yeah, I've enjoyed this episode of This Old House. Yeah, the nice thing about this old house is it doesn't have cottage cheese ceilings, which I always hated. Always hated cottage. I hate the look. I don't. I'm assuming it was a common thing for noise abatement, like to make things quieter. Um, in apartments. I don't know. I'm not sure. Or it was just easier than putting up. I mean, I don't know what was under most. I'm assuming it was just plyboard, and then instead of putting up drywall on ceilings, which is a pain in the butt, and I've done that. Oh my gosh! The next day, my shoulders were so sore. Oh God, holding the drywall up. Whew. I mean, I think that was. It wasn't quarter inch. It was half inch at least. Probably half inch drywall. Um, and it was so heavy. What the 6 by 8 sheets or something like that. I was helping my landlord at the time where I lived in a house, helping him build a bonus room thing. So yeah, no worries, Oslan. Light refraction, is that the reason for it? That's weird, huh? Yeah, it definitely does that. Um, I don't know. Is it common throughout the U.S.? I mean, I see it all the time in California. We looked at a lot of houses, and I would pretty much rule out a house if it had cottage cheese ceilings, just because I didn't like it. And then, of course, the potential of asbestos. So there's probably asbestos in many things of a house. Did I use stilts to do the ceiling? No, I think I just stood on a ladder, and it was a low ceiling, so I might have been able to do it without. It was a very small room, so it wasn't. It was smaller than this room. Well, Yeah, it was a little bit smaller in this room because I think they put a queen bed in there, and that pretty much took up the whole room. So it was a pretty small room. So it wasn't like a whole day thing. It was more like I had to hold up 5 or 6 of them until he finished screwing them in. And it was the owner of the house that was lived there. He was very handy. He was a cabinet maker, so he was very handy with tools and things like that. So I was kind of learning a little bit, but I learned basically. I learned I didn't want to do this for ever again. That's all I really learned. So drain pipes, interesting. Is that true in Europe? That's why you don't want to drink rainwater out of your off your roof. Um, Popcorn. You're right. That's another name for it. Yeah, they just spray it on, right? I would think that that would be a bigger mess, though. I would think it'd be just easier. I painted ceilings. It is a pain, and it is hard to get even. So you have to clean out the room too. That's one thing I learned. Because otherwise, you're getting paint on everything. Even if you cover it, somehow the paint seems to get on everything. All right, so yeah, it was a thing back in the '70s. Well, it must have been a thing back in the '50s because our building had every apartment has cottage cheese in every room, except the kitchens and bathrooms. In the apartment building, every kitchen and bathroom had just a regular flat ceiling, but the living rooms and bedrooms all had cottage cheese. So clearly, they could have done it the other way. But I think you're right. Light fraction maybe was a popular thing, or light displacement. It was probably a popular thing too. Um, yeah, you could put a plank. Yeah, like I said, I don't think the ceiling was that high. Um, oh, well, that may definitely be the fire. Uh, the asbestos is a fire retard. Yeah, that could very well be. That's probably well, asbestos was a fire retardant, so it was used a lot to probably. I mean, I don't know how many lives were taken by asbestos, but I'd be curious how many lives were saved by it. you know. And so YouTube viewers asking me, hey Tom, any advice for melody music idea blocks? I'm assuming you're having a writer's block essentially. Um, a million, a million ideas. One of the things I do is I will string up guitars weird ways. I buy a lot of this is the in fact the guitar I used on um, I used on uh, I used this on ETA for Justin Bieber. I paid $99 for this guitar. But I have a bunch of these, and I'll have them strung up maybe with 3 strings on it. Maybe I might have just like the D string. I'm sorry, the E string, the D string, and the G string, and then that makes me think different ways. I tune it different ways. Um, that's a in other words, change the tool. If you always write on guitar, try to write on a song on piano. If you always write on piano, try to write a song on guitar. You don't have to be a very good guitar player to write songs on guitar. And then melodically, um, one of the things I try to you can go back and look at your songs that you have written and analyze them and see if you've got any patterns. Because a lot of times what happens is what gives you writer's block is you try to do something and it just sounds like something you've already done and you're like, well, that's not going to work, and you think you've got writer's block, and you're just what you have is a lack of new ways of looking at things. So what you want to do is if every one of your melodies starts on beat 1, so let's say you're writing a song and it's like um, let's see. You got, let's see, 3, 4. Say every song, say you've got a million songs and they all start on 1. Uh, that that will definitely um, get old after a while, and not only for you but for your listeners. So what you want to do is maybe anticipate that. Start on the and of 4. So you're like 1, 2, 3, da da da, you know, where you're placing your first melodic idea on a different beat. It'll completely shift. You can even take a pre-existing melody and just shift it over 1/8 note. If you delay it 1/8 note, it would be like 2, 3, 4. Da, 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 da. Or start on beat 2. Da, 2. Or start on beat 4. 1, 2, 3. Da, 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 da. You know, you can start on different spots, and it can create a completely different idea that you never ever would have done before. And then another. The other thing you want to listen to is your melody always going up? Is it always going down? You know, that kind of thing. And then what you can do too is for lyrics to kind of get you out of a lyric. Just know, I always tell young songwriters, and I don't know where you are in the whole songwriting thing or the. I always tell them, if you can find a new way to say "I love you," it's worth $1 million. And so what I say is write a love song and title it a single word or 2 words or something, but just find a word just in a random place. So I could use the word first off of this cup. So the song is called First, and now I've got to write a song about love, and the title of the song is First. And so somehow you got to make the word first be about love. I could do it. I mean, the word hello has been used several times. Coffee, yeah, you could totally make a song called Coffee. It was just recently done about love. I don't know if it was about love, but flower. But even, I mean, I had a song I wrote, kind of a pseudo country song I called Yellow Lights, or Yellow Light. And it was, the song came about because I was using that method, and I can't remember the song, to be honest. Somebody recorded it, but it's not out on any streaming or anything like that. But basically, what I was walking and I wanted an idea, and I said, I was walking and I came up on a light, and it was a yellow light, and I went, yellow light. Okay, I'm going to write a song called Yellow Light. At that moment, I didn't know anything what it was about, but I just said, it was just an exercise. You can even do this too. You can do a melody a day and just keep tracking. It doesn't have to be an entire 5-minute song or anything like that. It could be a simple, like, it's like a, that's your melody. That's one melody today. Tomorrow's melody might be, that could be your melody. Think jingles, you know. But the yellow light thing was, I was like, okay, how can I, what yellow light. Okay, what do you do at a yellow light? You accelerate through it. Or you slam on your brakes. Okay, right then I was like, you know what? I got an idea. And so the song was basically, it was a country song, and it was about a relationship, a guy and a gal, and the guy's singing the song, and he's talking about they're driving side by side on a country road or on a road, and they come to a stoplight, and the light turns yellow, and he zooms through it, and she slams on her brakes. She chalks it up, as we say. We chalk it up. She locks her brakes and skids to a stop. But he zooms through it. And that was defined their relationship. He was all ready to go forward in this relationship, and she was like, no, I'm not so sure about this relationship. And it was actually created really cool vision. I got some really cool lyrics out of that whole concept. But basically it was, I think, the song was called Yellow Lights, and I think the lyric was, I'm running yellow lights, leaving you behind, essentially. So you could actually do like, oh, I'm leaving her behind, but it was actually a sad thing. Like, she's not running yellow lights with me. She's in a completely different mindset. So and they're still talking about still talking about asbestos. Yep, exactly. That's exactly right, YouTube viewer. The the it and you have an infinite number of melodies inside you, but it's a matter of a lot of things you can do too is you can go, okay. I mean, I don't know how good you are at piano or guitar or whatever, but say you can only play in the key of C. But you could go, okay, I'm going to write a melody in the key of C, but I'm gonna add two black keys. I don't know what notes they are, but I'm gonna add two black notes and try to work it into the melody. Okay, that's one trick. Another thing you can do is say, okay, I'm going to play in the key of C, but I'm not going to play a C. Eliminate the root note and try to write your whole melody without ever hitting the root. Basically just little exercises that will kind of help you punch through that bag that you're kind of stuck in, right? You're kind of stuck in this plastic bag of ideas, and what you want to do is you want to have the whole world at your disposal. But sometimes you're kind of stuck with the ideas you've already been creating. So you have to limit or expand your rules. Like by cutting out notes, you're eliminating notes to make you have to be more creative with a limited number of notes. By adding notes, like adding black keys to the key of C, you're expanding your world and your knowledge. Even if you don't know what the value, you may not know that the B flat is the dominant seventh. But all of a sudden now you've never used a dominant seventh in your writing. Now you've got that B flat and C thing going, and you're like, oh wait, that's interesting. So those are definitely, there's, and I'm amazed that there are new melodies written all the time. I'm amazed that there are new melodies written all the time. I mean, their songs come out and I went, wow, that's a cool little hook, a little twist. And a really good melody is pretty essential for a hook on a pop song. Not all of the melodies have to be good. See, the interesting thing about country music is I feel like they recycle melodies. You don't have a lot of, we talked about this, I think, Wednesday or Monday, but in country music, you don't have a lot of copyright lawsuits because they would be crazy to try to sue somebody for copying. They would do it over a lyric. If somebody said the same lyric or stole a big concept from a song, they probably would sue over that. But I don't think they would sue over a melody, because country songs are very have a lot of very similar melodic devices that they tend to use. But again, I would try to take your melodies that you've already written, YouTube viewer. I would take the melodies you've already written and try to displace them by an eighth note. If you're working in MIDI, you can even do it in the MIDI. You can just highlight the MIDI and move it over 1/8 note, or move it earlier 1/8 note, and listen to it. The other thing you can do is start substituting chords. So like that song we did a whole series on this, right, guys? We talked about this in the live stream, so we can talk about it. But like, for example, okay, I'm just singing the G string. Just singing the notes on the G string. So G, 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 A, A, G, G. But if I change the chords, I can even move the whole key down a whole step. Okay, but keep the melody the same. Okay, so I was in G. G. Now I may not keep every note the same, but I'm going to right now. I'm going to take this whole chord progression, this 1, 4, 5, 4 in the key G. I'm going to move it to F, but I'm going to keep singing in G. So you would never write that melody over those chords, ever. But it kind of almost works. Because if you sell it vocally, you can make it work. If I go up a whole step, that's going to be very dominant. It's going to be wow. So susses don't work very good. Sus 4, we talked about that before. Um, that's where cottage cheese comes from. it's just, it's just it's what's left over after taking down those ceilings. See, Becker, what did Becker say? When I have writer's block, I listen to someone else's song that I like and analyze it. Yeah, I try to be real careful about that. What oftentimes, if I'm writing in the pop context, I'll listen to somebody that's not pop, and maybe go as far from pop as possible, like opera. Although opera, some opera was pop of its day, but because I don't want to plagiarize anyone in pop music. It's very common to get sued for that kind of stuff. Um, um, but sometimes, gosh, the weirdest things I find, to be honest, one of the best inspirations for me to write better music. And I've written a lot of music. I mean, I've write music all day long, so I've got thousands of songs on TV and stuff like that. But I I will go to an art museum and change the medium that I'm inspired by. So good art will inspire me to write better music, I feel. Or reading a really good book. I'll read Dickens and I'm like, oh man, I gotta be creative. And Dickens will inspire me to write, or Shakespeare or whoever I'm reading. I don't know what am I reading. I don't even know what I'm reading right now. But that'll inspire me. So I love to get inspiration from other mediums. I have a lot of artists in my family. My sister is a painter and teaches at Rhode Island School of Design. Her husband is a sculptor. My little sister's a fashion designer. And I've got cousins that are artists and stuff. So it's kind of common in my family. They're either lawyers or artists. It's funny. But let's see. Yeah, and bridges. I mean, it depends on the song. Like there is no more formulaic songwriting than worship music, and worship songs have bridges. But I remember Tommy Walker would write these pretty elaborate jazzy worship songs, and he would put these bridges in. And it's funny because whenever I played his songs at churches, they never did the bridges. They just did the verse and chorus. They always eliminated the bridge. Sometimes they would draw a new chart. Sometimes they would print his chart up and just cross it out because the bridges were so weird. And it was like almost the bridges sometimes can be very they can sound crafted. You don't want to a song shouldn't sound like it was crafted. A song should sound like it was always there. And that's very difficult. It's a very rare thing. Anytime I've really worked hard and crafted a song, I listen to it later and I go, yeah, that sounds way too intentional. I like the songs I like that I wrote. Like I played you guys that one song that you guys liked, the "I See Myself as Blind" song. It's actually called "Not Far From Where I Stand" is what it's called. That one, boy, that thing practically wrote itself. I mean, it was like I could barely write the words fast enough, and that's when you're onto something. It doesn't mean it's going to make you any money, but at least it's something that's not too overly crafted, which can be definitely a big negative. But are we talking about guitars? Anyway, Jeff, I'm gonna take off too. So it's 11. Even though I started 20 minutes late because of stupid technology stuff, I could probably get going because I gotta get to work on some things. So I will talk to you all later. Shooting for Monday. By Monday, I hope to have a jam track you can practice down in the Valley to Pray. I'm gonna do it at 100 beats a minute so you can speed it up to 150, which I think is a pretty good place to get it to. So you should be fine if you can get it up to there. And are we going to talk about soloing over it? I'm not sure. I think we may go on to another song. One of the things that will make you a better soloist is to learn a lot of melodies, because you can quote little snippets of these or little phrases. I mean, teeny tiny little phrases out of this you could grab, and no one would ever go, "Oh, that's from Down in the Valley to Pray," or that's from Wildwood Flower, or that's from whatever song, Bill Cheatham or whatever. It's just a lick that so many licks that are done were done originally in some song. So. I kind of like this layout, though. I don't know if my screen is big enough for you, but I kind of like the way that I can have the music on the screen like that. I mean, I could make this smaller, but what's the point? I could do that, I guess. But we didn't really need this part of my video, so mainly need to see my left hand. So. Is it possible to do a live stream and read all the messages on full? I don't know. Tom and chat, have a good weekend. Yeah, Dennis, thank you so much. Holly, Bruce, thank you to all my admins. YouTube viewer, you're welcome. Whoever you are. Hopefully they were gems. I don't know. I'm not a hit songwriter, so I do write a lot of music, and I've written classical pieces, I've written jazz pieces, I've written gypsy jazz pieces, I've written bluegrass pieces, I've written rock and pop songs and stuff. I mean, I've got a lot of songs out there. So hopefully Monday we can get together. If not, I'll let you know on Discord if I cannot, and so that you can have a heads up, so you're not sitting around waiting for me like today. Okay. And hopefully I didn't lose some viewers or subscribers because I started this chat or this live stream 3 times. And so if people tend to get too many notifications from me, they tend to unsubscribe. You don't need to unsubscribe if that's the case. You just need to turn off notifications. But that's neither here nor there. Okay, don't do that. Turn on notifications if you can. And thanks for all everybody for the love, the super chat love. I really appreciate that. It helps me justify doing this. I do want to try to do more permanent videos and or non-live stream videos if I can. I also want to do some interviews. I'm thinking about doing that. I got to get that together, but that may wait until COVID. Have I done a video on gypsy jazz? I think I did. What was it called? Gypsy. Did I do one? Gypsy. Yeah, I did this old. This is really old. Check this one out. I'm wearing a hat. So I kind of did an intro to it. Some basic tips on how to sound like Django Reinhardt. And I actually have a song up here, I think. Let me just make sure this is copied. See if it's still up there.
Here's an honest way to make yourself $1,220 or up to $4,880 per household.
With pictures of our 2011 Paris trip, which was a lot of fun. Love taking the kids to Europe. That was so much fun. They're so spoiled too. None of their friends ever went to Europe, but they went to Europe. We took them to Europe 4 times, I think. So it was pretty cool. We were poor, but we managed to get to Europe pretty much free 4 times. I should do a video on that. Anyway, God bless you guys. Talk to you soon. Enjoy your weekend. I'm working all weekend, so I don't have a weekend. I need to take time off. I may do that. I actually, well, probably in July. I'll take a couple days off in July. All right. Take care, everybody. God bless you. Bye-bye.